So in my last video, I attempted to debunk some of the main criticisms of resource-based economies. However, today, I feel there was a question still left to be asked. If resource-based economies are superior to modern capitalism, and there are so few barriers of achieving such a society, then one question remains: why aren't we there yet? So this is kind of a follow-up video that I felt I needed to make, since in my last video I didn't really give a conclusion as to why we haven't transitioned into an RBE. And today I kind of wanted to expand upon that. And so I will be explaining a couple of reasons why we haven't made the transition. So I wanted to start this off by talking about how people are brought up in the society. We were born into society, we grew up in the society, we've lived and worked in the society, and thus, this is all we know. Because of our natural instincts, we have a fear of the unknown, and so when we are introduced to new and radical ideas, we tend to steer ourselves away from them because we do not know what outcome they will bring, which leads me to believe that this fear that people have of the unknown is what attracts people to moderate politics and incrementalism, as opposed to radical ideas that would bring about systemic change. This is something that many democracies of today capitalize on. As we see in the majority of the world's democracies, the typically centrist, moderate political parties are typically the largest, whereas parties on the far left and far right that would propose more radical ideas are marginalized. Case in point, the Democrats and Republicans in the US are the two largest political parties in that country, whereas the Green Party and the Libertarian Party are much smaller. In this case, it isn't just an appeal to moderation, but also an appeal to a political establishment. In fact, political establishments manifest themselves on moderate centrist ideas. If you look at countries like France, Germany, Japan, Australia, and others, you will see their leaders are liberals, moderates, centrists, whatever you want to call it. Groundbreaking ideas like resource-based economies have no place in politics, which concludes that political systems cannot be used as a vehicle for a transition into a resource-based economy. Hence, we've seen nothing in the way of tangible change from congresses or parliaments. The mainstream media is a tool used by the world's political establishments to steer public opinion towards the status quo. By the time the overworked public leave their day job and get home, they have too little time or energy to do independent research on topics and issues of the present time. And so, via TV, people are funnel-fed, manufactured news stories and information that are heavily skewed towards status quo bias, with very little in terms of nuance. If ideas like resource-based economies were introduced to members of the mainstream media, they would be met only with ridicule. The idea would be framed and shamed, and the optics of resource-based economies as an idea would be tarnished. Where the idea has gained traction, however, is in the independent media and in social media. The Zeitgeist movement, for example, has 300,000 followers on Facebook alone, and Peter Joseph, the founder of the movement, has been interviewed by the likes of independent media outlets such as the Young Turks and David Pakman, who are widely popular on YouTube. I think that the internet is where ideas like resource-based economies will gain the most ground, which is kind of a reason why I make these videos. But let's not get too off topic. I guess the third and final reason why we haven't transitioned into a resource-based economy yet is because we still have this neuroticism of the events that occurred in the 20th century, particularly with regards to system change. The failings of state capitalist regimes in the 20th century guised as communism are still used today as a defense of modern capitalism. In fact, because of modern propaganda, we are led to associate capitalism with democracy, and thus the idea of abolishing capitalism or evolving past it has been associated with the stripping away of democracy and freedom, in spite of the fact that that couldn't be further from the case. And so it seems to me that the best way to promote ideas like resource-based economies is through grassroots activism and through a presence on social media, especially targeting those of a younger audience, as they are more likely to do independent research on the internet, where they will become more knowledgeable about RBEs and are more active on social media overall. This is not only good for exposure, it helps get the message out there more rapidly and to a wider audience. So I hope I've cleared the air surrounding the question as to why we haven't transitioned into a resource-based economy, despite it being a perfectly feasible feat. I hope you've enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative. I will continue my work, of which I will upload to this channel. But until then, I will see you next time.